Welcome to what I believe is episode 20 of the Amazon Connect podcast. Sure, it's 20. Now, Mark,
I think
as always,
yeah.
how are you and where are you?
I'm doing all right, Doug. I am on the West Coast this week, so I am here for a couple more days, and then head back to the East Coast. But yeah, hanging out in
Where
San
on the
Jose.
West Coast do we find you? You're in San Jose at the moment.
San Jose. Yeah, I was in Seattle a few days ago, and now in San Jose.
Catching some rays, catching some waves.
Yes,
All right.
exactly. Yeah.
Now, viewers of the podcast will know that we have proficiency-based routed an expert into the podcast today. Iftach is here, and in full disclosure, if I seem deferential, he is my boss's boss. So I may be a little less cheeky than I sometimes am. But I thought it was important to make that clear in case people think I'm a little stilted on the podcast. But Iftach, could you
Is there some
please
biases come acrough, Doug, or something like
correct.
to that effect?
Iftach, could you do us the honor, please, of introducing yourself with a very who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Doug and Mark, for having me on this very prestigious podcast. I don't know why you call your podcast listeners viewers. I guess you're thinking most people view this and not listen to this, huh? Okay.
So, well, it's it's on the tube. If people
We're
want to see our
multimedia,
faces,
right? So,
yeah.
some people want to see our faces, some people want to, listen to our voices. So, it's
Omni-channel.
cho- media of
Very
choice.
good. Well, so thank you for having me. I lead the solution architecture organization at AWS for what we call applied AI solutions. So these are the small but mighty number of services that are actually truly solutions that have been built for our customers to deliver business outcomes immediately. So we build them, and of course you can build on top of them and embellish on them. But they're essentially solutions that are built leveraging AWS know-how and skill sets. And I've been here about 5.5 years at this point. Yeah.
You certainly have.
In New York today, which is my home office. Well, I'm not in my home office, but I'm in New York, the office to which I'm assigned by by AWS.
Proximity of.
Happy
And
doing
I think the way you introduced yourself there was pertinent, particularly for our recent announcement. So we're probably going to skip past, unless Mark, there's anything you want to raise outside of our primary
No, I
topic
think
today.
I think the what's new is the topics, right? Like that's
Yeah, yeah.
essentially what we're going to dive into today. So that's the core of today's episode.
So I'm gonna frame it up with some highfalutin talk. Lennon once said, I hope it was Lennon, I doubt anyone will fact check me, that there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. And I feel like this is a week where decades happen. Everything from reframing, rebranding, renaming to real change, material change in what we do and what the platform can do and how we approach it. So, in broad terms, let's start with the new aspects of Amazon Connect, and we prefaced this last episode. Those who listened to the episode with Sunil Menon on Amazon Connect Health, and he, without really meaning to or realizing, gave a little bit of a hint of what was coming, because he spoke about how Amazon Connect will become this umbrella term. So, Iftach, please tell us what has happened to Amazon Connect in this last week.
Yeah, I think what's happened is we've taken the Amazon Connect name and extended it to a family of products. But what they have in common is they all deliver that outcome that we're talking about, that business outcome that we can uniquely deliver to customers. We, as in AWS, as in part of the Amazon family of companies. By again, kind of like with how I introduced myself. Yeah, good point. We've taken solution areas where we really think we have a unique perspective, unique experience, unique intellectual property, and have essentially taken those solutions and made them available to everyone. We basically democratized them, similar to how we did originally with our customer experience solution with Amazon Connect. we've realized, well, wait a minute, that's not the only thing we have a unique perspective on and unique capabilities in. Customer experience, of course, is one of them. But so Sunil already went into the second family member, which is Amazon Connect Health, right? Amazon is a family of companies. We have experience in delivering healthcare outcomes for customers, healthcare, pharmacy. By the way, I'm an Amazon pharmacy customer as it is. There's also other services that Amazon provides in healthcare. So how do you take that and reduce the friction in the uh, both the receiving of healthcare, but also delivery of healthcare with Amazon Connect Health? Sounds like you went through that. We announced Amazon Connect Talent because, as
Mm.
you know, Amazon does a
Mhm.
lot of hiring, a lot of high velocity hiring in some of our businesses, whether that's in the warehouses and in other areas. And we have experience in leveraging AI to quickly make, hire and make good hiring decisions, removing biases from hiring decisions. So we launched Amazon Connect Talent, which again relies on our unique abilities in that space. And then we also launched Amazon Connect Decisions, which is really in the supply chain space. And of course, Amazon, as an Amazon, has a lot of experience.
So
So
that's our
we
long
know
suit.
we know one
Absolutely.
or two
Yeah.
things. And how do you take the know-how that we have, the technology that we have, both the AI and the machine learning that we have to help customers that need to make these decisions be able to leverage that technology? So again, democratizing that. I think that's going to be. You haven't asked me about this, but I'll just kind of flat out say that in this world now where it's not uh, as hard to build applications, deliver applications, that has become easier. There will still be, I think, even a greater premium on delivering differentiated outcomes that are based on experiences, based on know-how, based on things that are not just going to be readily available to an AI that you leverage to write some code. And I think that's what I'm
I think
focused
as
on.
I think where we're at the moment, and you always have to caveat this with, it could change, is it's very easy to build applications that don't get to production. It's very easy to build POCs. It's very easy to build um, uh, things that, and particularly if you don't really know what you're doing, you don't understand the structure of software and applications, that you can leave security holes, you can leave things that behave in unpredictable ways. And our customers are still after outcomes, the business outcomes. And that's really, I think, what we've done here is we've taken, as you say, areas where we really know a lot about things. And I see it as perfectly analogous to the original AWS services, S3 and EC2, that were intellectual property and technology that we created to support Amazon.com at a very fundamental level. This is the same thing, only rather than infrastructure, as an application. We've put a lot of thought into how we hire because, I'll spell it out for everyone. Amazon hires a lot of people. The task of hiring to make sure fulfillment centers, even to make sure AWS functions, like we hire a tremendous number of people, and that takes a lot of work if a human's doing every aspect of it. Mark.
Right? I think it was the last number, right, that we had, right? Like a quarter of a million, you know, folks that we, in this last peak season. So just the scale, trying to think of that at the scale, right, that we hire at is just mind boggling.
And it ties neatly into what Amazon Connect Customer, which is what the old Amazon Connect is now known for, those Amazon, Amazon Connect Customer. When we talk about flexibility and scale, and we often talk about Amazon.com, at peak season going from, 100,000 thereabouts contact center agents to 150,000 contact center agents, that if you're not hiring and you're not filling those seats, doesn't matter how flexible the technology is without having the humans there to do the job. Mark, how has the service team been seeing this change?
I mean, I'd say overall the change is very positive, right, from the service team perspective. Other than having to rename everything, that's probably the biggest pain point that we've
Well,
had. But other than that,
informed viewers will still see that the word wisdom appears in amongst our AI agents sometimes. I mean, and
Yes, yes.
in some of our deep stuff, you still see the word Lily coming up, the original project name for
Yeah,
Amazon
no,
Connect.
100%,
So,
right, from that
like,
perspective.
it's hard to rename.
But it, I think the big part of that too is, really seeing where AI is now front and center, right? And that is essentially what an Amazon uh, Connect customer is now, right? I think you've probably heard of us in the past use unlimited AI and other, full connect and other terms like that. This is, Amazon Connect customers now, the end to end, AI powered contact center, right? And that's one of the key aspects here that we want to make sure everyone understands that, right? Like it is infused with AI, right, across, from end to end of that customer journey, right? When you're
And
leveraging that with
and
Connect,
we're
right?
not saying,
This is
here's a platform, go build it. We're saying here are, as always, here are some pre-built solutions. I mean, Amazon Connect Health is a perfect one. I mean, you could look at that and say, well, I could have built that. Well, yeah, you could, but you would have spent a long time doing it and may well never have got to production. Here is a production ready, at scale, secure, proven, and with pre-built connectors, all those kinds of things. It's that we've always been very good, I think, and of course, we're here to toot our own trumpet, at looking after both our builders and developers and after our customers who just want to use something, who just want an outcome. I think we've really done that.
Yeah, and it's showing, right, I think traditionally, right, Amazon Connect customers is, we've been fairly horizontal, right, in terms of different verticals and areas, right? And this is showing the power that we have right now with starting to build more of these verticalized solutions, right, in various industries where, we have experience, and or, we are working very closely with customers. You're gonna start to see more and more of that, right, continue to evolve, right, across Connect as we continue to expand into those, those key areas that our customers are asking us for.
So, Iftach, how is a business that we're in, how do we stay across all of this? Like, it's getting awfully broad. I mean, we've talked on the podcast a lot about Amazon Connect customer as it was then, or no, as Amazon Connect as it was then, being an orchestration engine for the entire organization, moving, sort of bursting beyond the contact center, and routing work everywhere. But with that comes a dizzying number of areas that we need to be across. How, as an organization, do you think we best handle that and tackle that?
All right, that's a big question. I'll answer in maybe a couple ways. The first thing is, and I know folks have heard me say this. I know there's actually books written with this name, but it's to make sure that we continue to stay in love with the problem and not with the solution. I think that is probably the biggest thing. The reason why I think Amazon Connect Amazon Connect customer, which up until now has been called Amazon Connect for those who've been following the podcast for the last few minutes.
Watch out if you're talking about Amazon Connect customer profiles.
Yes, yes.
All of a sudden, it's very
I know we can make
Boutros
yes.
Ghali.
Okay, Connect customer for right. Uh, the reason it's been so successful is because, again, Amazon as a company is truly obsessed about the customer experience and about ensuring that even when the customer is reporting, they're satisfied. As Jeff Bezos would say, um, we're continuing to improve and improve, and we fall in love with the problem of the customer always, expecting more and a higher level of service. We need to do that for any of the solutions that we go into, and fall in love with that problem. And I think we need to continue to also be customers of our own solutions. And I think for all these four areas, Amazon continues to be a customer, and continues to have that insight that's really required. Um, we ourselves, are also, as a team, leveraging our own technology to solve our own problems as we try to scale. Um, Leveraging our own AI, leveraging our own know-how, and through doing that, are actually finding gaps and challenges that our customers have. I'll give one example to this: is if you're leveraging Amazon Connect customer and you want to do any type of whether it's AI self-service or whether it's just uh, what we call agent assist, which is AI that's assisting the agent, the human agent that's helping customers. You need a good amount of knowledge and data, and you need to expose that knowledge and data in ways that are helpful to whether it's the agent or the actual customer that's using it. So as we build our own solutions to help our own internal sales teams and SAs and CSMs and TAMs, we ourselves uncover uh, difficulties in knowledge management. And then we ensure that we're making that easier for our customers. So again, I think just broadly falling in love with the problem, staying in love with the problem, and then continuing to innovate the solutions in order to continue to solve the evolving problem. I think that's the key thing. Uh, the second is also just hiring great people. There's no getting around that. We often talk about, you know, people being fungible, and fungible doesn't mean that you're just easily replaced. That means you can easily go do something else because you're capable in that. So we have to make sure that the skills that we're developing in people and we're helping people develop, that they stay relevant across all applied AI solutions. And by the way, we're finding that that's largely the case. So understanding, for example, where uh, large language models do well or where they have some issues, that's going to be relevant regardless of how you're applying AI, right? And there's also like places where these things are going to intersect. For example, there's a lot of Amazon Connect customer proper in Amazon Connect Health, and that's not by accident, right? Yes, I think largely those are going to be the two main things: staying focused on the actual problem, not just falling in love with the solution that you're trying to improve, but knowing that that solution needs to change over time to keep up with the problem, and also just hiring the very best people. Well, the other thing I'll just say about hiring the best people, we need people that are very comfortable also working themselves with AI teammates, because I think we're also entering a world where um, expertise is important, but we also have to kind of realize there's a limitation. If you're not using an AI teammate, you're not actually getting the expertise of the collective folks that are feeding into that AI teammate, right? So when we use an AI teammate, that AI teammate has knowledge and expertise of the collective team. And that means every member of the team needs to be able to, as they work with that AI teammate, they're able to share knowledge that they may themselves not have alone, but their entire team has. It's maybe a little bit of an abstract concept, but those that have started working with AI teammates, we, for example, and Amazon started leveraging something called Amazon Quick as a desktop, which is a very, very
Yeah.
powerful AI teammate. Um, I think things like this are going to make us able to work more broadly, across more solutions.
Yeah, I learned a new term this week around that is humorphism, right? Which is essentially the construct that's used, right, to describe essentially how humans are basically collaborating, right, with these AI agents, right? It's an interesting term, right? But that is essentially what we're moving towards, right? Is they are more or less going to be complementary in terms of what you're trying to do in your day to day job and helping you accelerate in terms of what you need to achieve as daily outcomes, right? In whatever respect that is, and so that's and we're here at Amazon we're doing that like every day, right? In terms of using our internal tools and learning from that, and then really trying to push that into our products, right, from that perspective. So that's, in
I've
some
been
ways,
working on
we're eating our
an
own dog food, right, as part of that.
Sipping our
well, I've
own,
been working on a new
sipping our
analogy.
own
Is
Merlot, we'll say,
Yes.
yeah.
Merlot. Yes. Better
But
term.
yeah, the analogy I would make, just pausing on that fungible point, is my grandfather didn't have synchromesh on the first gear of his car, so he had to double declutch. I had to learn on a manual car because in Australia automatic cars were not common back then. My children, who I'm teaching to drive now, and one's just got his license, I haven't bothered to teach them on a manual car. They drive on an automatic car because and why would they? And similarly, I'm sure both of you, as I did once upon a time, constructed my own computer. I won't say built my own computer, but I bought some chips, bought a motherboard, processor, all that kind of thing, memory. My kids, I don't think, are even clear that their phone is a computer and has all those components in it somewhere, and it's just a magical pane of glass as far as they're concerned, because they don't need to know that. It's not interesting. It doesn't even appear to boot as far as they're concerned. It just turns on and does the thing it does. And I think that's the same with AI tools in the workplace. It's actually, you don't need to learn the same skills you had to learn, because, like when we started out in our careers, because those things are being done by AI. And what you need to learn, what you need to do, has changed in the same way that you don't need to learn to double declutch. I know that was a slightly long analogy, but I think that's that part of hire and develop the best, which, as I'm always very upfront about, is far and away my favorite leadership principle, because without it, you can't do all the other ones.
Let's take
And I
your
think
let's take your analogy further. So, as somebody that similarly learned to drive manual, my home country, well, we call it stick shift. I don't know.
Stick, yes, I know. I try and be bilingual, but
So someone that learned with manual had to take the driving test in manual, but now drives automatic. I can tell you, on the long drives, you reach your destination tired, especially if you're in like city traffic and there's a lot of shifting that goes around and there's a lot of energy that's given to it. But you know what? So when you reach your destination, you might be a little bit more tired, you might be a little bit worn out, you might have been a little bit less focused on other things. Take it to where cars are today, where they're becoming, some of them not just automatic, but some of them are becoming self-driving.
Extension, yes.
So what happens there, right? You're probably able to, like, by the way, and there's some things I don't really like about that, because I don't know that I want to be focused on work while I'm in the car. Some people actually have the car as their downtime.
The switch off time.
But taking that aside,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you're able to be a lot more productive and without necessarily needing that skills of even, just not just, uh, shifting the transmission, but even driving the car. So yeah, it's becoming more automatic. It doesn't mean that the person that's operating the vehicle is less productive. They're probably more productive. That doesn't mean that their skills are less important. They're probably more valuable skills, but they're different and they require a different education and a different skill set.
Yeah, and I think if we continue, right, like we'll just continue to extend this analogy right back into Connect, right? Like I think and we've actually had a few recent blog posts, and Tony Gooch did a great version of this in terms of one of a recent YouTube podcast around this. But the aspect around here where we think about how, traditionally when we think about AI agents, right, often deflection becomes the key point there, and it's that is, more and more losing its value with a lot of, in terms of customer interactions, because it's ultimately about the relationship that you have with the customer, and how do you leverage AI to really improve that overall relationship, right? Because if you enable your agents to be more productive, if you enable your supervisors to be more productive and less in getting into, hunting and pecking, looking for information, right? But really having the information at their fingertips, which then they can provide that high value interaction for the customers, right? And that's where that becomes super important, right? From that perspective.
This goes back. This goes back to episode 1, where, remember, I was talking about the difference between the horizontal view of how to use AI in the contact center and the vertical view. The horizontal view is, hey, let's have some AI up front that's going to try and do everything. Oh, it failed. All right, get the human in for the second half of the interaction to try and work out what's going to work. Or do you take that vertical view where it's actually AI is happening all the time, but it's doing the jobs that the human doesn't need to do. The human's still there saying, hey, Mark, pleased to meet you, how can I help you, all that kind of thing. All the while in the background, the AI is doing the authentication, doing the looking up your history, looking up why you might have called, looking up, the business you do with me, and all those kinds of things, and making sure, because in so many areas, so many customers we deal with, they are literally differentiating on service. Like, if you were selling broadband literally you're selling the same product. So you want to be talking. Do you really want to hand over that interaction with the customer entirely to an AI agent? Maybe not.
Yeah, I will say though, I see it a little bit differently. The way I see it is that the focus has, and this I think I think this is a great development. Just to be clear, I think the focus has shifted from the focus on the contact center itself, and now at the center of everything, and now I think it's the customer. and the customer experience that's truly at the center of everything. And I think we've we've right-sized the importance of the contact center. And again, don't get me wrong, contact centers are very important. The people that work in the contact centers are incredibly important. We see them as a tier one customer for, like, all that's true. And yet right now, what's happening is everyone's realizing, okay, my customer and their experience is at the absolute center of everything. And in order to provide the customers the experiences that they need, I need to understand my customer. I need to know about my customer. I need to think about what my customer wants proactively and not be reactive to my customer. I need to, when there's any type of opportunity to interact with a customer, whether because it's for a good business process or a not so great business process where I'm trying to recover the customer, I want to reduce the amount of friction as much as possible for the customer. A lot of that means I need to have data about information about the customer. I need to have AI that can interact quickly with the customer, both proactively and reactively. And yes, and when there is a need for human interaction, because for whatever reason that's required, then that interaction with a human agent needs to be also supported with AI, supported with data, supported with the very best tools and information to provide that experience. So I really see that as a shift that's happened. Like, even just in customer conversations that you have, they're not talking to you about their next generation contact center. We don't really talk in a contact center centric way, even though of course, Amazon Connect is levered heavily in contact center, but we've really now put customer in the center. And if you look at the Connect family of products from Amazon Connect Customer, Amazon Connect Talent, Amazon Connect Health, Amazon Connect Decisions, I probably should have said it in a different order, but those are the four.
But yeah,
Remember,
but I get where you're going with it. Yeah, yeah.
the customer is at the center of each one of those, right? And the customer, and then driven by AI to deliver the very best experience and business outcome. I think that's what's there.
I think that's well put, and actually is a
Well said.
nice place to close off this particular section, because I want to have a short chat about the other massive news. Now, our next episode is actually going to be a deep dive on this, and as a thrill for me, our special guest is going to be with me this time, Mark.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Do I get to interview you now, Doug?
I've got a friend who's going to be coming all the way from California, who's going to be in Sydney for the Sydney Summit. And he happens to be the subject matter expert on this particular topic. But I think we need to talk about it because Iftach was intimately involved, and it is just such big news. And that is the introduction of NLX into the Amazon Connect family. So let's talk about what it is. Let's talk about why we've done it. And that should be enough, more than enough to chew on, I think, in the next few minutes. So I'm going to begin by playing bad cop here. It appears as though we've made an acquisition, which is odd for us because everything else has been built from the ground up. What do you say to that, Iftach?
I've heard this several times over the last few weeks. I find it really interesting. I understand the point. Like, I get the point. Hey, we talk a lot about creating our own technology, building our own technology. Now we've acquired a technology. Actually, for me, it's actually like and I would use a different word if I thought there was a better one. For me, it's actually very inspiring because I believe that, again, to bring it back to putting the customer at the front. If we identify that there is something that our customers need and will help our customers, so what if we didn't build it? What if it wasn't created here? So what? That only matters if we put ourselves in the center. We found a technology that basically accelerates customer outcomes. If I had to tell you, like, if you ask me, what does NLX do? You could bring on different people, and they'll give
That's
you.
what I was about to
Well,
do.
like, so,
Let's you, you
so the and I'll argue about this. Having been somebody that was involved in this for a little bit. It accelerates customer outcomes with Connect, and allows customers. You talked about customers wanting to go into production. It helps customers for specific AI self-service use cases that have specific requirements. It helps them get there faster. Things that you can do with Connect for sure before you could, but you could do here now. You could do it faster, and sometimes, depending on the use case, it's dramatically faster. Right?
And it's not only faster; it's more consistent in both a functional and non-functional way. And to spell it out for people, one of the key benefits is being able to move between a non-deterministic kind of chat and speech interaction. And by chat, I mean chatting, not web chat, into a deterministic flow. So I'll give the example.
I would actually say yes. Sorry, but I would actually say into to do the reasoning in a non-deterministic way. Understand the different intents, as it, for example, and then have deterministic flows that are required to do it, and to actually do them even ordered in the right way, in a logical way. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I just want to make clear.
No. I was really just because the problem. Sometimes these kind of things are best understood by thinking about what problem was there before, and it's the problem that everyone has, and that is, how do you get to production? Stats are everywhere about the number of AI applications and workloads that have, that don't get to production. They're a POC, they're a bit of output, and just nothing about. And we spoke with length with Aisha. Oh no, that was the last episode. Sunil was the one before, I think, or was it the other way around? Anyway, but Aisha about the challenges, like when is good enough good enough? Is 80% good enough to go to production? Is 85%? How much hallucination is acceptable? When something hallucinates, how do you know that? Why did it hallucinate? How are you going to stop it doing it next time? All these kinds of questions, which are the hard questions, the sort of the final bit that stops you getting there. This solves a lot of that, because the problem is things like, well, yes, I want you to be able to chat in a sort of a reasoning kind of way, but then I actually want you to do the thing. Like, I wanted to ask questions about how to register my car, and I'm moving into state, and do I need to re-register? I need to change my license, all that kind of thing. And then at that point, okay, now I'd like to do it. Okay, well, now I'm going to need to know your registration plate. I'm going to need to know your make, model, all that kind of thing. That would have taken, really, as you say, you can do it. You could do it in the past, but it kind of would have been two different bots or two different applications. And with that, then you've got the challenges of maintaining context, challenges of reporting, challenges of testing, all that kind of thing. And I think that's really, for me, I think that's the problem we're solving here. I'm sure that we're solving 15 other problems as well, but that's what I think the real impact is here. But Mark, you've had me and Iftach on this episode, so you barely got to say a word. I want to give you a chance to talk.
No. I mean, I think this goes back to an element of I think Iftach hit a point on, right. It's accelerating the customer outcomes, and that's super important to us right now at this point, right. And that's an area where whether we build it ourselves or we acquire through an acquisition, these are areas that we're going to continue to give customers choice and capabilities, particularly around AI, because how fast the space is changing. Right, we know that's bringing in optionality and capabilities is what's going to make us be able to make that huge impact for our largest customers. So that's how I look at this. Right, I look at this in terms of really continue to accelerate that and enable us to go faster from that perspective. Right, because I think the NLX, they were working with Connect for a long time. Right. And so that's right. And so, I think that was another key reason, because it was just a natural synergy that we hit,
well, it's no different to us the way we've worked historically with the Amazon Lex team, the Amazon Poly team,
right.
Even a weird way, the Amazon S3 team. Like, these are all interactions between the Connect family and external parties. This is just another external party.
Exactly.
think about oh, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think about going back to what came up in the very first minutes of the call, this notion of falling in love with the problem. Having met the NLX team and having spent a lot of time with them, I can absolutely tell you that we are very much aligned on what the problems are and, the very best ways to solve them. And I can tell you that, when you do something like this, you're not just thinking about whatever technology is available right now or whatever customer acceleration is available right now. You're also looking into the future. And I'm really excited about the things to come too. So I think this was a very well considered move, and it's going to have a lot of great benefits for our customers, for not just now but for a while to come.
I think that is an excellent place to leave it. We will have links to all of the, and I know I'm bad at this. I say we're going to have links, and then I don't often put them in. But we're going to have links to, because these people are going to want to know more about. Because we didn't have time. I touched on this problem, like how are we going to stay across all this stuff we do? But I'll link to all the decisions, talent, health, and connect customer. I think if you're listening to this podcast, you probably got half an idea what that does. But then as well to the NLX. Stay tuned for the next episode where we will have an even deeper dive on that particular topic.
And Doug,
Mark, you look ready to say
correction.
something. Yeah.
One correction. This is episode 19.
Oh. Crumbs.
just
Jeez, you buried the lead on that one, didn't you? All right, perfect place to leave it. Iftach, Bashan, thank you so much for agreeing to be on here. And please promise that you'll come back again.
Whenever you'll have me, I'll be back. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.